Do you ever feel like you're doing something right, but it still doesn't feel right? You've got goals, you're working hard, and maybe you're even hitting some big wins, but you have this feeling of something's not right. And this is where Aristotle comes in. And I know it's not your typical type of guy who you expect to relate to your 9 to 5 problems, your relationship problems, your school problems, whatever problems you're going through, you don't expect to relate to them. But just hear me out. Now, Aristotle believed the goal of life was eudaimonia, not just happiness, but something deeper, flourishing. Becoming the best version of yourself, living with purpose, clarity, and intention. That doesn't necessarily mean quitting your job to go ahead and meditate on a mountain. Aristotle isn't about escapism, but he's about alignment. He said we become more fulfilled by practicing virtue, not by trying to be perfect, but by making the kind of choices that shape our character over time. Take courage, for example. You don't need to be this heroic warrior to have courage. Maybe for you, it's just sending that message that you were overthinking about. Or maybe it was speaking up in a meeting or taking that rest day that you were feeling guilty about. That's virtue in your life. It lives in your decisions. And here's where Aristotle called most people out. He said that we don't live like that. And it's true. Instead, we chase pleasure and status because it's easier. We confuse comfort with happiness. And we fill our days full of distractions, hoping that it'll fix that low-key emptiness that we don't really talk about. And this is not to say that Aristotle's ideologies were anti-pleasure, but he just knew that none of this stuff was sustainable. You can scroll, you can binge, you can party, but once that high fades, you're left with nothing but yourself. He believed that if you actually want to live a life that's good and not just looks good, you have to build it from the inside out. And this is where the term the golden mean comes in. Basically, don't go to the extremes. Every virtue lies between two vices. Confidence lies between arrogance and insecurity. And discipline sits between obsession and laziness. You're not trying to be a robot, you're trying to maintain balance. And I feel like this hits hard in a world where everything is pushed to the extreme. Hustle culture will tell you to never stop grinding, and self-care culture will tell you to never leave that bed. But with Aristotle's ideology, he's like it's all or nothing. It's about knowing yourself well enough to decide what's just right for you. And he always thought that it was never about being the smartest in the room, but it was about making good choices in real life. Understanding when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to walk away, and when to show up. These are things that school will never teach you, but life eventually does. And Aristotle also said that relationships are keys to a good life, but not all of them. He broke this down into 3 types. One's based on usefulness, the other one is based on pleasure, and the real ones are based on virtues. The ones where you both grow. The ones where it's not about what this person can do for me, but what you can do together. Like, just think about your own circle for a second. Who actually helps you flourish, and who pulls you back into your old habits? This doesn't mean that you need to cut everyone off, but you do need to be honest. Who's adding towards your growth, and who's feeding your distractions? So what does all of what I've just said mean for all of us now? It means that if you feel unfulfilled, it might not be because you're doing it all wrong. It means you may be living someone else's definition of success. Instead of chasing more, maybe you need to ask yourself better questions like who you want to be, not just what you want. And I think one of the main messages behind this ideology was become yourself on purpose, not by accident. Not when life forces you to, but by conscious actions, small reflections, and honest decisions. So yeah, that was just my little 2 cents on ancient philosophy, but the truth is, even though it's so far away, it's showing up every single day. Every single time you show alignment over approval, discipline over comfort, and truth over convenience, it's you choosing to flourish, whether you realize it or not.